It's Scout's first downpour. It started raining about 10 minutes ago. She doesn't like it. She does not approve of the downpour. But we have a full-on downpour going on out here. Finally, we've needed this rain. Oh, it's so nice. It feels good to just rain. Yes.
Maybe it'll help put the fires out.
Yes, it's going to put some of these fires out around here for sure. Hopefully it does. And one thing it's going to do is it's going to water my property. It's going to... Everything's going to get a nice watering now. All right, so we're out here this morning, 7 a.m. and it rained yesterday afternoon and into the evening. We ended up getting about an hour of really good rainfall. I dug down in the ground with a shovel and it wet the ground about 3 inches deep. In other words, when you dig down 3 inches, you can get right back to dry ground. I have about 100 trees on my 10 acres and all of them got a nice watering, all these sage bushes. And you know, this is one of my newer young pinyon pine trees. It's already really in good health, and I come over and water it every once in a while. I'll pour some gray water on it. You know, I don't let any water here go to waste. I've noticed that the junipers do much better with the drought than the pinyon does good, but those younger ones sometimes can really struggle. And it's really healthy right now. Yeah, it looks really good. And over here we got Sue's trying to wear out little spaz girl. I'm gonna take her and run her here soon. Yeah, you smell stuff in there, don't you? She's just going crazy. Look at her. Look at her go. Go, Scout, go, go. Go, Scout, go. Wow, look at this.
Got a lot of energy today.
Whole new zoomy area. Go, Scout, go. Come on. Come on, Scout, let's go. Come on, Scout. Come on. Come on, Scout. Come on. Come on. Come on. Go, Scout, go. Go, Scout, go. Okay, so my next big project is going to be the inverter. This inverter is also, it's what's called a whole house inverter. It's an inverter charger, and what it does is it seamlessly turns itself on and off. Let's say I fire up my generator, this thing will automatically stop inverting and will automatically start charging the batteries. It's the battery charger and it takes over, and then when you turn the AC source off like the generator, it will stop producing the charge and go back to inverting. And so it stopped charging the batteries. Now what happens when it does that is even when I run the generator, no power goes through from the generator, because what it does is it just shuts off the entire AC side. So the only way we have AC power right now, if I run the generator and plugged into the RV, it does nothing. The only way we have AC power right now is while the inverter is on. So we've bought a new inverter, which I'm going to put in. Now, last night it was raining, and I've had to, the last 2 nights, since it burned up, I've had to charge the batteries with this battery charger, which is a 40 amp battery charger. So that's putting 40 amps in. And when it started pouring rain last night, I turned this all off and I put the battery charger away in here. Now, when I put the battery charger away in here, I accidentally bumped one of my 2 solar breakers. Now, the reason why they're labeled 1 and 2 is the number 1 is the power coming in to the charge controller from the solar panels, okay? The reason why you have to turn that off first is because all the incoming power, instead of going through the charge controller to the batteries, stays in the charge controller and burns the charge controller up. And when I put the charger in here last night, I accidentally bumped this, and this was off and that was on, and the charge controller is cooked. Yep, I burned up my charge controller last night, or this morning when the sun came up. It burned up the charge controller and I had no idea. I had no idea until the batteries were dead and we couldn't figure out why the solar isn't charging, and when I came down here to look, I saw what happened, and it's completely 100% my fault, but it was an accident and things like this happen. So now we're going to Flagstaff to immediately buy another charge controller. So that's going to be $325, and I'll show you what I bought to replace this. So this is only a 2,000 watt inverter, but it has 4,000 watts starting, and this is a 20-year-old inverter. Heart Interface is the original parent company of Xantrax. So that's how old this inverter is, but it's, you know, it's always worked good for us. I'll show you what I got. I bought a brand new Victron Multi Plus. This is the one that does up to 50 amps, and you can adjust it. Honestly, I've been kind of waiting for the other inverter to burn up and to replace it with this one. And the reason why is because, one, it's a smart inverter. It uses a lot less power when it's turned on doing nothing than my other inverter does. But the biggest thing is my old inverter only produces about 108 volts, and my washing machine will only run on 120. So I haven't been able to ever run our washing machine off of our solar, off of the inverter. We've always had to run the generator. So this thing produces 120 volts, and it's going to completely eliminate my use of my generator when doing laundry. The other thing that's good is it's a pure sine wave inverter, and the one that I have is a modified sine wave inverter. So, and like I said, it's not a very efficient inverter. It burns through, I can't remember, but I think it burns through like 2 or 3 amps of DC electricity just while it's turned on doing nothing. And this thing uses almost nothing at all. So it's going to be great. So basically I just have to install it. I've already checked everything over because I was going to install this morning. Everything's straightforward. All I have to do is hook it up to all of the existing things I have, and then turn it on, hook my computer to it, program it, and I'm good to go. Anyway, that's what I was going to do today, but we started out with the solar not working and figured out why. I burned up the charge controller, so I need to get that replaced before I do anything else, so that at least my batteries are being charged every day without having to run my generator. Sometimes you make mistakes and they cost money. Just, it is what it is. So we're off to Flagstaff to pick up the charge controller. And I still have to put in the inverter. Now some people might ask, why put in the same kind of expensive inverter? Well, once you have an inverter charger installed, your power converter in your RV is replaced. So I don't have one anymore. I don't have something that takes 110 power or shore power and charges my batteries. There's nothing to charge my batteries except for my solar charge controller or the inverter, the battery charger built into the inverter. So if we have a cloudy day and I need to charge my batteries, without that inverter charger, I would have no way to do that. So unfortunately, this week it's a $1,900 emergency problem week, and that comes directly out of the old emergency fund. $1,900 cash. Yeah, fun times. The inverter I expected, you know, but once we bought all the parts to go with it, it was like $1,450. The good news is we had to pay no tax, because in Arizona you don't pay tax on solar, so that's one good thing. Okay, we went to Flagstaff today, got the new charge controller. This is the old one. I already swapped it out. It was an easy swap out because it was already hooked up. All I had to do was disconnect 4 wires and put them into the correct spot, and 4 screws to hold it in, and that was it. And the screws were, I literally was replacing the exact same one, so it was a piece of cake. There's the new one installed. It's working. It's on bulk charge. So once again, what happened is the number 2 breaker was accidentally bumped off. And what that does is that cuts off the power going from the charge controller to the batteries, so that then all the power coming in from the solar panels had nowhere to go but to dead end in the charge controller. And with no way for the power to get out of the charge controller, it burned it up. So tomorrow it's replacing the inverter. It still works right now as an inverter. The charge portion of it is what's broken. And apparently that's very common with the inverters. The first thing to go out is usually the charger. This one worked for us for 3 years continuously. That's being used every single day for 3 years. I'd call that good. That's the Hummy here right now. It's inverting. It's taking the 12 volt power and making 110. It's making 30 amps of 110. So everything in the RV is live right now. And the solar is working. I already checked it, and even with the clouds, we're still bringing in over 400 watts, which is not bad for a cloudy day. This company who made this, I bought this 3 years ago at Arizona Wind and Sun. This should be a proper breaker box. This should have a closing door over it so that you can't accidentally hit the breakers. It's just disappointing that they didn't make it with some type of a door over it to protect the breakers. That's the entire reason why they put doors on those things anyway, is to keep the breakers from accidentally being thrown. So, and that's exactly what happened to me. It accidentally was thrown. I had no idea that it was that way until the sun had already been up for quite a while. Luckily, they've got circuitry built into these things so that they may burn themselves up, but it didn't catch fire, which is awesome. And whenever you're doing just a simple swap out, you know, I made sure that all the switches and everything are in the exact same position, which makes it very simple. So I figured this would be an appropriate spot to say all of this. So next month, at the end of July, me and my family are going to Catalina Island off the coast of California. And we're going to put my sister's ashes to rest there. So I will be covering that coming up, doing a whole video on it. I figured best place to even talk about it is right here in front of the wind chimes. And I noticed that the minute I start talking about this, the wind picks up and there goes the wind chimes. So I think that must be my sister giving me the approval. She likes the idea. Catalina was her favorite place out of anywhere. All right, I'm over here in Bruce's camp, and I have some breaking information for everybody out there. 2 members of our tribe have each one bought a bus, but I'm not going to tell you who. One of them is this bus, and the other one is this bus. Yep. 2 nomads in our tribe have bought new buses, new used buses, and you're all gonna have to just guess who they belong to. And then look, everybody, Wandering Jimmy's been sighted in Utah, and yet look, he's also here at Pandaland. Who knows? What does this mean? Only Scout knows the answers to these questions.